All right, everybody. So we are back. Welcome back, everyone. So we have The Rock once again. So, uh, you look slightly less muscular than The Rock. I noticed.
Yeah, I don't take the white pills.
Fair, but glad to have you back, man. So we're gonna just jump it right into the value
Okay.
of this video, which is basically if you're thinking about moving out here, or if you already live here in Vietnam, Saigon or Hanoi, doesn't matter, anywhere. What can you do to extend it? And yeah, just get talk about that a bit. And yeah, what do you think? What's the best way to create a viable, sustainable, business or way of making money when, a lot of people they get sick of teaching kids ESL. I mean, you get burnt out really quickly on that. I think you lasted what, 9 months? And
Yeah.
and I teach adults. So what do you think?
Um, the best friend is ask AI. Like, what can you do abroad? What is your skill set? Like, that's the best thing. I use something called It's called Pi.ai, and just give it your portfolio. Like, what can you do? What is your skill? And it'll give you ideas of what you can do abroad. And like right now, like I would say a lot of stuff is like if you are a teacher, you can teach stuff online. A lot of people are trying to learn like tech programming, e-com. If you want to sell stuff, we're in Vietnam. You get stuff cheap, so you can be your own hub, which is a nice thing.
Like drop shipping kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, kind
Yeah.
of. Like you could be your own like drop shipper, I guess you could say, because you can buy everything here, which is a nice thing, and
Yeah,
go
and
from
it's
there.
cheap, cheap.
Oh, stupid cheap, super
Yeah.
cheap. And send it back to your family back in America or somewhere and have them do the shipping for you and
Yeah.
everything's good. But yeah, that's definitely a good way to go. You want to find something though. You obviously have the idea of being an investor. You want to open a company. It doesn't have to necessarily be a school, but you can open something as long as you have a partner. I believe the partner is like 51, 53% ownership of it. So
Yeah, let's get into that a little bit more detail because the ability to start a business here, I feel people think, oh, government, they're gonna regulate against the foreigner or whatnot. It's not like that, is it? It's actually quite easy. Am I right?
you're kind of wrong, kind of right, I guess. If you're a larger company, obviously Nike, they're not going to be like trying to screw you over.
Yeah.
If you are a younger, like hypothetically, let's say we're opening a school. To open a school, you need to have a partner that has an English degree. This is a requirement for them to get the actual permit for the building, the school, all this stuff.
Hmm.
Get you the red stamp. In that regard, typically the school is quite involved because they want to make sure you're foreign immigration issues, right? You're foreigners.
Let's backtrack though. I think
Did I go too far?
no, no, no. I just think you're thinking too like advanced. I'm talking about the person that's like me, like
Okay.
I mean like more basic, like because I have a small following.
Okay.
So how can I turn that into money in Vietnam that I want to live here long term? Well, I do live here long term, but like, what have you been able to do to kind of enjoy the lifestyle and affordability, I'll say, of
Okay.
living in Vietnam, but also being your own kind of boss?
Oh,
You know
okay,
what I
so we're
mean?
not talking about actually in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah,
So online. So for me, I've done a lot of things. I've always been in a business. I was in real estate. I do investing, but you're kind of it's a little harder once you get abroad. Obviously, like I can't go to a bank down the road, stuff like that. So what I do is I do a lot of like I'm good at teaching. I know how to teach. So I started writing ebooks on like my experiences. I have a lot of friends that are teachers and they reviewed my material. We played with it. This is over like right about 7 to 9 years. And I put this into stuff for people. It used to be like I'd have small ebooks, kind of free material.
yeah, yeah.
And people started getting it like, this stuff's actually helping us out, guys, because people would you go to Google, you download a lesson plan.
Eh,
I promise you 1,000 other teachers have used it in the same class.
yeah, and it's never gonna work
Yeah,
for the situation.
it never does. So I
Yeah.
started creating these and I monetize it over time. And these are things that I sell online that help teachers that come out here. That's one thing I did. Another thing I do is I sell merch, like stupid things. I think of dumb things sometimes, so I'll make a shirt out of it, or I'll make a hat or a coffee mug that people don't put coffee in, stuff like that.
Yeah. No, it's
And then the bigger one, because you obviously want to plan for the future. When I first moved out here, I don't know if this is going too deep, but when I
no, not
first
at
moved
all.
out here, I sold everything, I rented everything. I was like, I'm out. I'm out of America. This like F it, right? So I made the mistake of having 5 grand in my pocket, and that was it. Like I kind of Hail Married my
It's a
life.
lot. It's a lot. How'd you
It's not a lot when you don't know what's going on.
I'm joking, but yeah, I can totally relate to that. I'm sure a lot of our viewers can as well. So you're saying like kind of just try a bunch of things, but I think what's valuable what you said, what are you really good at? You mentioned you're good at
Yeah.
teaching, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to teach a crazy 30 students
Uh-huh.
in a middle school in
Yeah.
central Vietnam. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, you
yeah,
can think of like there's fitness girls out there. They're fit, they look good, but they don't own a gym, they don't work in a gym, but they're very intelligent about fitness, so they can do content, they monetize it.
yes,
So
yeah,
I don't own a school anymore. I don't work 9 to 5 in a school anymore. But I know what I'm doing, so I help other people do it.
yeah.
And a lot of stuff that I get feedback. People are like, "Hey, this, that," and I'm always in the zone with these people, so I'm able to create that content, which is so I share what I know.
That's fair. And I'm glad you brought that up because you mentioned the feedback that we got from our first podcast, which is
Uh,
very valuable. And I think it's really kind of less less used or lesser undervalued feedback, I guess, from my Vietnamese students. Like because they're so scared of losing face.
okay.
You know what I mean? So they won't even ask for it because they assume if it's negative feedback, I'm generalizing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's they did something bad. When
Uh-huh.
in reality, it's like no, you make more mistakes, you make more money, and you improve on it. So that
Uh,
going back to our first podcast, you mentioned it was fun, or your follower said it was fun,
uh,
but it lacked like value, like you know things that they can use to help them
uh-huh.
in their life or their endless travels.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was really a good point, and I want to, just touch on that. So good job.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So let's get into the public school because
Okay.
I want to talk more about that. So if you guys are thinking of moving here, is ESL dead? Like, is the dream of because it's such a huge business. Like, you just type in Vietnam ESL, moving to Vietnam. It's just like endless sea of
Yeah.
misinformation. Just basically it's endless confusing sea of shit basically, so you don't know what's
Yeah.
right, what's wrong. Can you talk a little bit about your experience and maybe provide some tips or value for what to avoid in terms of ESL certificate,
Uh.
things of that nature?
So when I first got here, this was 2015. Things were very different. Uh, it wasn't as competitive, I guess. Like you could literally just
That was
be,
like prime time for it,
yeah,
basically.
like
Yeah.
you didn't really have to be an ideal candidate. You didn't have to be really a good teacher. You didn't have to be a good person sometimes. Like I've met some bullies, let's say, that would,
What is it, bullies?
yeah, like bullies, like just very aggressive people
Like
that,
backpackers, like party.
no, I don't want to like stereotype backpackers. They were just like, if I met them back home, that they would just be those people that had that negative vibe.
Like a douchebag.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But like this was allowed everyone and the culture just kind of accepted like
And
whatever.
he's white. He's a
It
native speaker. He'll be okay.
it
We'll,
was
we'll allow it,
it
kind of
wasn't
thing.
even the race thing. It was just like there wasn't enough there was more demand than there was product. Is that the right way to say it?
Yes, yes,
There
absolutely.
was just but like right now in
But now it's
2024
it's
there,
catching up.
no God no there's way more teachers than there
No,
is
no, that's what I
position.
mean. That's what I mean.
Oh, it didn't catch up. It's like
No,
whoo, it's out the mood.
I think you misunderstood what I meant. I meant the demand went down
Uh-huh.
and the supply went up.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
skyrocketed.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's
everyone saw, people, teachers coming out here and being like, wow, this is actually kind of a really cool country to live in. And then they kind of open the floodgates and
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's a mix of stuff like the teaching, Western economy going down the hill, people trying to find solutions,
that's that's a good
the
point.
passport bro thing, that phenomenon that went on where people were like, hey, you can just move here and meet a good wife that'll take care of you and you can take care of her.
Which
Like there was a lot
which
of
is true.
yeah, 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 definitely. I mean it's a mixed bag, but yeah.
I have to say because
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
yeah, but I didn't, to be clear, I didn't move out here like passport, but
No,
I just got lucky. Let's be honest.
like speaking about that, like typically the ones that move out here for relationships typically have the hardest falls. Like they typically fail.
Because the expectation is,
No, it's
you know,
just like you go into a club in San Diego. You're like, I'm getting some tonight. You end up don't, or you
Oh my
just,
gosh,
or
that's so
it's
true.
1:30 and you're like, I'll grab anything. When you come out here
That's
with the
so
intent
true.
of adventure travel, I'm gonna get some work done. I'm gonna try something new in my life. It just
Reinvent
happened.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like things like for me personally, it kind of just happened unexpectedly. I went
Yeah.
into this stock company. I wanted to learn about stocks in Vietnam, and I met somebody. We became close after like 4 months and became serious. So it wasn't something I was expecting.
Yeah, that's
So
so
I
true,
do
man.
think people that come out here with that intent, it doesn't always work the best. And I'm just from experience. I've seen my
Yeah. No,
friends.
I hear you, man.
Like it's usually a hit wall. But in general, for like teaching, it is harder in Vietnam, definitely with the rules changing a lot. But in the rules changes, like the government took out the requirement. So there's that's where you got that like that pipeline to this point where it's harder to get the job. But it is definitely a good foot in the door to get people out here so they can kind of, station themselves, get a place to live, understand where they are. Because when you come out to Vietnam,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, it's a culture shock. But they come out, they're like, "What's going on?" Like Asian people everywhere, and the food is different. See people eating bugs, you're like, "What is wrong with that guy?" And you find out that that's actually your dinner they're cooking, and a lot of stuff is going on where it confuses people, right? So you get that time, you get a job, and then once you get past that point, you can start thinking bigger because people need to think bigger. And if I could put the clock back, as they say, and do something different, I would have definitely invested more that, like maybe a stock or Fidelity or something like that, where I
Yeah.
had running income before I came out here Hail Mary, because I had my rental into the stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it was very challenging. I learned this the hard way. It's hard to get a lot of money into a different country foreign-wise. Like
Yeah.
it's all in America. I sent to Vietnam. It becomes a challenge and expensive. That was actually the big problem. But definitely, I people that come out here, you should definitely have some kind of like, I don't want to say a retirement plan already coming in, but something happening.
Yeah.
Don't throw all your bags, all your eggs in one basket like I did. Because it was good back in 2015, but right now it's getting, and it's not just Vietnam, it's Thailand, it's Laos, it's Cambodia, it's
Yeah.
Malaysia. Singapore is like very challenging right now. Like it's getting harder on the world.
Yeah.
This is easier than America right now.
Yeah.
But
And I think that speaks to exactly what the topic is, which is I think you're pretty much most 99% they're gonna have to start by teaching English.
yeah, yeah,
Which
hands
which
down.
is which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But we're talking about long term, and I think you touched on a lot of good ideas. But I want to ask you, can you tell me your craziest story about teaching in maybe a public school